Hello, everyone. Welcome to Easy Mode. I'm your host, Dan, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I want to make this a relaxed, interactive experience. So kick back, enjoy yourself, and don't be afraid to say hi in chat. Let us know where you're from. I see we've got Frank here from Madison. We've got Rude. We've got Bass from Amersfoort, Netherlands. Sanoga, great to see you again here from Uganda. Clive from New York. We've got people from all over the world joining us today. And I think it's because we've got a really interesting topic. We're going to be talking about how you can take your live event production, take your live video, and level it up a notch, taking it from here to here. And how do we do that? Well, we can do that with some really intuitive presets. We can do it with graphics and media playback, and we can level up our video to create more production value and a better result for our clients and for our video productions. So I see people trickling in. We'll give everyone a little bit of time. I see Edward from Germany. We've got Underground Podcast from Charlotte. We got Phil from San Fran. Hey, Phil. Wow, just great to see everyone here. And, keep up in chat. If you have questions throughout the presentation, don't be shy to get in here. Also, we've got a bunch of guests sort of waiting in the wings. So we've got Stephen from Uno. We've got Liam from FLETCHERWILSON joining us late from overseas. And we've got George Kennedy, who's a broadcast producer as well with a lot of experience he's going to share. So we're going to get to this panel later in the event. We're going to have sort of after the demo and after the presentation, we'll have sort of an open format conversation and Q&A. So stick around and that conversation will be super interesting. So I wanted to get started of kind of showing a little bit about what the outcome is. What are we trying to create? And maybe I can just show you a little bit of if this was a cooking show, I'm going to show you the final cake right now is like what we're brewing up here. And you can kind of see in this example to my left, we've got, multi-source layouts. We've got a dynamic motion background. We've got switching. We've got graphic overlays. And all of this is a lot easier to do than you think. And the reason it's easier to do is because of great products like Epiphan Pearl. So I've got right here in front of me a Pearl 2. There we go. And everything you can do today can be done on a Pearl 2. We also have a Pearl Mini, which it's possible to do a lot of these things as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can accomplish this, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for you by giving you some presets that you can get started with and get up and running right away. So with that, maybe I'll switch gears a little bit and talk about the 4 steps to getting started. We've broken it down to 4 easy steps. So step 1, I'm going to show you how to load a configuration preset. Step 2 is connect your Uno overlay graphics with your Pearl. You can pair it up to be able to do really nice graphics. And then I'm going to show you how to start your stream and record and to be able to switch a program. And I think we can get all of this done in like 10 minutes or less. So I'm not going to take too much more time. I do see some more people trickling in. We've got Peter from Washington, Remco from Holland. We've got Dry Tech from Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And please keep, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please don't be shy. Say hello in chat and feedback your questions and comments, because this is interactive and I can kind of react to any questions you may have during the demo. So let's get started. I'm sharing my screen here and I want to show you how we get started to run a production like this on a Pearl 2. And here you see we have Epiphan Cloud. Epiphan Cloud is kind of like your central hub and your dashboard where you can find all of your Pearl devices. And you see here in my Epiphan Cloud, I've got this feature here is my edge devices. So all of my Pearl devices that I have connected to my account. So I've got a Pearl Mini, I've got a Pearl Nano, but I'm actually going to build a production here in real time on this Pearl 2. So let's click into that. I've got this Pearl 2 running, and right off the bat, I've got a little bit of information here, but the tab we're going to use today is right over here on the right, presets. So let's get started with step 1 here, which is to load your configuration preset. And Epiphan is making this easy for you. We have some configuration presets on our website that you're going to be able to download after this program, and you're going to be able to get started with right away if you already have a Pearl. So let's go ahead and add a new preset. And you'll see here, I have my Pearl 2 easy mode preset. Let's open that up. It's going to load right into my cloud account. And now, in fact, anyone who is a team member on my cloud account will have access to this preset as well. So very easy to share your presets, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the preset. Okay. And there we go. So let's just check, make sure our inputs are working. You can see I've got Sophia here on my HDMI A input, and I've got Jessica. She's on my HDMI B input. And now we're ready to move on to step 2, which is to pair my graphics, my Uno graphics with my Pearl. Okay. So you're going to see here, when I look at my production right now, you're going to get a little message here that just says, we're awaiting graphics. Let's put your graphics in. So this is the only step where I'll actually have to go into the back end, the admin panel of Pearl. So I'm going to click right here to log into the admin. And if you've ever set up like the Wi-Fi password on your router, very similar. You're just going into the back end of the device. And with this configuration preset, we've kind of done all the hard work for you. You're just going to go down here and you're going to see graphics. And this is your graphics input. And you'll see that there's a field here on your Pearl that says web URL. And this is where we're going to direct Pearl to look for our graphics input. So I'm going to flip over my tab actually to my Uno overlays. So here we are now in Uno, and I've already set this up in advance. We're going to go in a little bit more of how to set this up later when we bring in Steven, but I've already set this up for my production. All I have to do is at the top right here, I can grab and copy this output URL for my graphics. So you see here, I can run all of my graphics here in Uno, but right now I'm just going to copy the output, come back over to my Pearl, drop it in and hit apply. And now you'll see it's going to connect, and I can see that my graphics are now connected to my production. So let's flip back over here and you'll see I get a preview right away. My production is running. I can see my graphics. So we're most of the way there already. It's time to move on to step 4. And step 4 is to actually, or rather, I think we're on step 3. We did 1 and 2. Step 3 is to actually start our stream and start our recordings. So if I just go back here to look at my channel, I can see my program channel and I can select a streaming destination. And I'm going to stream to my YouTube channel, which I've already configured here in Epiphan Cloud. So let's start that stream. And I'm going to want to record this as well. So let's start that recording. Okay, so we're streaming and recording, which means step 3 is complete. Let's move on to step 4, which is to actually switch our program. And you'll see right here, I've got a switcher. Let's open that up. Switcher will load. Now, what's really cool here is with our configuration preset, we've already given you a whole bunch of layout templates that you can use. So you've got, we see this nice 2-up that we have right now. We can switch to any singles we might want to. We've got some different kind of side-by-side. So maybe if you want to do a screen share or share some content alongside your presenters. And this is all designed to work really nicely with the Uno graphics. So I'm just going to flip back to Uno. Maybe we want to throw on a title at the top of our program. We've got our podcast title. And here in Pearl, you'll see it's in there right away. So what's cool here is, you can run this just all in a browser. Cue your graphics, cue your switches. If you want to do this all yourself, one-man band, you can do that. If you want to have someone operating the switcher and another person, maybe in a different location, operating the Uno graphics, it's possible to do that as well. And we make it super easy to combine those elements and integrate your graphics, your media playback, all of that. I'm just going to check chat here, see if we have any questions. I see Ian was asking any plans to bring NDI HX on Pearl Nano. That's a good question. We do have NDI on our Pearl 2 and our Pearl Mini. Stay tuned, and you never know. We're always adding updates to the Pearl devices, so it might be possible to add some more streaming codecs and some video input signals as well. I do see Fareed is asking, is the content from URL cached? How often is a refresh done? That'll be a good question, actually, I think, for Steven. So why don't we bring in now Steven from Uno, and he can give us a little bit more information about how Uno works. Steven, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It's really good to see you. And I'm excited to go over all things Uno and how it works with Pearl.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. And the reason that I'm excited to have you here is because I've been playing with Uno now for a while. And to me, this is like the easiest way I've ever been able to add graphics to my program. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what Uno is and what differentiates Uno from other options when it comes to doing graphics for a live production.
Yeah, I'd say right out of the gate, I mean, the reason it's really easy is, well, for starters, it's 100% cloud. It's all cloud-based, meaning it's web pages from top to bottom, whether it's the output URL, which you showed that you need to put into the Pearl configuration to get the graphics rendering on top of the video, or the control user interfaces, which are called Unos. That's what we call them. Uno really meaning doing one thing, and hopefully doing it one thing really well. In this case, doing a stream pack. We call this the Epiphan Stream Pack 1.0, and it's just a small collection of graphics that we think, in conjunction with your team, Dan, developed a nice stream pack for graphics that work nice with your preset layouts, and there's a number of them there, and make it just like you said. It can go all the way down to a one person band, so to speak. Or if you have somebody else that can help you on the graphics, they can operate it from anywhere. Because again, Uno, which was developed by Singular, side note, is 100% cloud-based. So it's super easy to get it up and running quickly. There's none of this pesky download the zip file and install apps. There's none of that nonsense with Uno. You go to the overlays.uno site, browse around, try something very quickly. And in this case, we're zeroing in on our Epiphan stream pack. So
yeah,
Dan is showing you there. Yeah.
Why don't I show you how to find it here? So one thing that I was so impressed with just the first time I came to this Uno site is just the library of elements that you have prepared here. And there's, it's possible to search for, whether you're doing sports or podcast or news, depending on the type of content you're creating, there's a stream pack for you. But what's really cool, I think, about what we've been able to do is to pair Pearl and Uno, and we've created this custom Epiphan stream pack. So I'm just going to show how to find that. If you just type in search Epiphan, you're going to see the Epiphan stream pack 1.0. And then when I click that, I can simply add it to my overlays. So let's do that. So you can keep a library of all your Uno overlays. So maybe if you had a couple different types of productions, you can kind of create some templates for your content. But let's just pop into this overlay, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a guided tour of what's included here and what sort of elements are involved in this stream pack.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're looking at here is an Uno, excuse me, an Uno user interface. In the case of a stream pack, we have a handful of graphics contained within that Uno. So we've got brand logo and countdown, live bug, name titles, title, viewer interaction. So that web page, which is what it is, the control application is completely responsive, which makes it really dynamic, easy to load up. You could load this up on your, different devices if you're so inclined. And it's designed, it's bespoke for Epiphan. So these graphics will line up, like, for example, the name titles, which Dan is showing right now. Those are going to line up perfectly with the various layouts that they have in Pearl. So it makes it super easy. A couple different layouts like styles. You've got multi-line. There's a 2-up with multi-line. I think there's a 1-line option in there. And then some nice sort of not overwhelming amount of customization. So Uno is really designed for play out, not so much authoring, like with a timeline and animation timeline. That's a different offering that we have. But with this, it's really play out, and it's giving you just enough customization to get you off the ground, off the runway, so to speak, easily, not being overwhelming. And again, all cloud-based. So this can be operated from anywhere, which makes it super, super versatile. And in
And I,
terms of, go ahead, sir.
can I have more than one person in a stream pack at the same time? So for example, if I wanted to
Yeah,
say, hey,
you can have more than one person can be operating that user interface at the same time. You can make, like in that title example, we have a feature called slots, which is that little icon to the right of the on button. Exactly. So you could make, like, if you had several lower thirds, you can make multiple lower thirds, which is all too common in a more professional live stream. So the slots is a new feature we added, and we're constantly adding features to Unos, not only to the UI, but to specific Unos. I'll go back to this point a couple of times. That's why we're big proponents, and we're driven completely by user feedback. So on the main Uno page down at the bottom, we have a feedback loop, which is, we encourage our users to hit us up with feedback requests. What do you like? What do you want to see in terms of controls and customization, that type of thing?
that's great.
Yeah,
So if folks want to, request some customized features, or, they can just get in touch with you, and the team at Uno is there to sort of support their productions.
Yeah, we're really trying to be as responsive as we can be. We've gotten an incredible amount of response when we launched last year, in the fall of last year, and it's just been growing quite a bit, because, like I said, it's just it's just incredibly easy to get up and running quickly with just some graphics. It doesn't have to be overwhelming to do some nice looking overlays. And the usual suspects, the lower thirds, the countdowns, the sponsor bugs, are really well represented in the Uno library itself. I was really happy the way this one came out for you guys with Pearl, because I think it hits the mark. But as we discussed, you and I and George were discussing, now we need the Epiphan Pearl users to really come back to us and say, hey, this was cool, but what about this, or what about that? Because we need the people on the front lines doing this stuff to give us the new ideas, because they come in all the time, and we take those ideas, we put them in a feedback loop. I have meetings with my team all the time about what would make sense, what makes it easier. We're trying to get that burden of, it shouldn't be too hard to add some really professional looking graphics to a live stream, and that's the differentiator. We really believe that very strongly, that the differentiator between just a stream with no graphics and with graphics, it just changes. It's a ball game changer. I mean, it gives you a brand identity that you can't get without graphics. So I'm really pleased with the way this version 1 came out, and I'm excited to see what version 2 looks like already, since we've launched this one now. So
well, thanks so much, Stephen, for giving us sort of that quick overview of what Uno is, and we'll come back to you a little bit later in the show. But you did mention that it's important to keep in touch with the guys on the front lines. So with that, I actually want to just bring in our next guest, and I'm going to be joined now by George Kennedy. So George, welcome to the program, and thanks for being with us here today.
Hey, Dan, always great seeing you.
Yeah, great to see you too. So maybe, George, you can tell us a bit about what you do. I know you are a live video production expert, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about what kind of work you do.
So I work in the live production and the event production industry. Most of my work is done on the live event side. So obviously we've been using Pearls for a while. What the Pearl has done now is really open up, a lot of the work. We already stream with the Pearls, but what this allows us to do now, and just looking at what Stephen is providing now, is to be able to produce for the web. What you have in the AV industry, sometimes we do productions and we have to stream also. So what this allows us now to do is stream before the actual show and stream after with high-end graphics. So the Pearl has really grown, and we're seeing this as an opportunity to really integrate more design and quality to the outgoing streams, and on the back end of the actual on-site productions.
Fantastic. So, curious from your perspective, because I know that you will often work on events with very large budgets and large crews, but then sometimes I'm sure that you get involved in productions with small teams or smaller companies. So my question to you is, for those, whether it's a company town hall or a podcast or some of those, uh, more thrifty productions, how can we take that video and level it up a bit while still making it easier? What is required to take a video production from here to here and still make it easy to produce?
Well, obviously we want to make sure we have the right operators, right? But simplicity is key. We're looking at Uno from this morning, and what I saw, that's going to help level up what we're trying to do on the web. Hardware is key. We work in a hardware software environment. Pearl is obviously software. We're a hardware. We're dealing with some of the software side in the web, but it's important to make it easy for end users or for the basic users to be able to execute shows, and that's what Epiphan is doing right now. And we really, it's easy. I've been on productions now where we're using the Pearls, and it's easy to really show folks how to bring templates in, export them out. So it's a great job of what you guys are doing right now, and just adding all of this external content and still making it simple for the operator. That's key.
Fantastic. I want to hone in on some of these ideas a little more, but maybe George, if you don't mind sticking around till after the program, and we'll chat with you a little bit more during our conversation afterwards. But now, sort of on the note of Pearl, I want to bring in Epiphan's own Nick Milani to join us and just give us a quick rundown. And Nick, welcome to the show, Nick, and thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for hosting today, Dan. Like, what an incredible event! I didn't set my my watch to know if we were right on top of the 10-minute challenge, but just an incredible run there at the beginning.
Awesome. I can hear Nick okay. I'm just getting a note from our producer in my ear that he couldn't hear, but I can hear you just fine, Nick. So I think we're good to go.
This is the fun of doing things live, by the way. You never know what's going to happen. So bravo to you. What I was saying was bravo for the first 10 minutes and the setup and the execution. And this is proof that even the best laid plan, some executive is going to show up and screw it up.
We're doing just fine here. And I do see a lot of folks in chat. And by the way, keep coming with your questions and comments if you have any questions. I'll try to get to some of them now, but we might save some of them to the end as well. But Nick, maybe you can kind of give people a quick rundown. I know a lot of our folks who are here today maybe already own Pearls or are familiar with Pearls, but for those who aren't as familiar, maybe you can give us a quick rundown of sort of the product lineup for Pearl and what differentiates one Pearl from another.
Yeah, well, I think it's a really simple portfolio, and that's what makes us unique is simplicity. I guess we've been kind of in this technology world for now almost 20 years. And one of the things we've seen over the years is this projection of complexity, this idea that things are hard to achieve. And, fundamental to what we're trying to do, and it's at that Pearl family of products, is to remove those barriers, to make it simple on folks to create and share their best story. And so we have a portfolio of products. What you demonstrated today was the Pearl 2. It's really the flagship. It's capable of supporting up to kind of 6 channels of video feeds and record in real time with the layouts. Can be paired, 4K paired to cloud tools, just really incredible device. You go down from there to the Pearl Mini. This is an incredible all-in-one device, lets you kind of support 2 to 3 channels, lets you do some basic titling on top of it. And what's really nice about it is it has an integrated touchscreen, so an operator can literally sit there and run it. Although in my experience, I facilitated a show for my wife once on a Pearl Mini. She said to me, I prefer if you're not in the room. And so, you can use the cloud tools to switch this stuff from anywhere in the world. And that's part of what makes it so powerful. And speaking of powerful tools, the Pearl Nano, the Pearl Nano is our single channel encoder, and it's the smartest encoder in the world. That lets you also record in 4K HEVC. So a really manageable file size. And I always quip what makes it smart. Well, it lets your smart people stay at home. You can literally ship these devices. A Nano fits into a standard unit, U.S. Postal Service flat fee shipping box, and that can go anywhere in the world, plug into any camera or audio source, record and stream it within a matter of minutes. And so this portfolio of products lets video experts like George Kennedy, which I love his Freudian slip when he said Pearl is software, because I actually think the beauty of that hardware is the software that runs in it. That Epiphan media engine is what creates this richness. But what it allows for video professionals like George to do is have a kind of a simple suite of devices, 3 products on their shelf. They know between those 3 products, they can facilitate, 90% of the events in the world. And even the events when you're going to your really high-end boards, you're going into your really trick spaces, our devices will sit alongside of them and still make them smarter. We bring a layer of intelligence to that entire video experience. So, that's kind of the idea of how we're focusing on the portfolio, how we think about these series of devices working together. And of course, it's complemented some with really cool cloud tools that maybe we'll save for the next major event.
Yeah, speaking of future events, we do have some more events like this coming up in the near future. So in September, we're going to do a bit of a masterclass where we deep dive on how to produce something like a town hall production. And, Pearl is a great platform, but Epiphan Cloud also offers a lot of capabilities as well. Things like integrating Zoom and Microsoft Teams to be able to connect remote sources into your video production. And you can also do things like produce your entire show on Epiphan Unify, which is how we're actually doing this production today, running in the cloud. So we're going to dive deep into that in September. So, stay tuned and watch for our upcoming events. And then in October, we're going to flip back to another easy mode event, and we're going to teach people how to unlock better events with Zoom and Epiphan. I know Zoomtopia is coming up in the near future, and a lot of folks are looking to not only capture content using Zoom, but produce content for Zoom. So we're going to go into that a lot more in October. And, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to those, Nick.
Well, one of the things I love about that town hall space, quarterly business reviews, internal comms, there's so many of these events where I want to curate the experience. I want the people on the far end to focus on us like we're focusing on this slide right now. And in a traditional Zoom or Teams environment, traditional video conferencing environment, it just doesn't work. Anybody can look at whatever they want to. And so I think we're unlocking that power. And I just want to say again, thank you to you and George and the team, Steve, and everybody that's involved in helping to progress this. We're really pushing the boundaries of art of possibility in service to a better video experience for all. So bravo. Thank you, Dan, for having me today.
Thanks for being here, Nick. So that sort of wraps things up for today. That concludes our program, but we do have a panel here who I'm sure would love to have a conversation with all of you guys and chat. And so why don't we bring our panel back? And we've got everyone here, and we have a new face here as well, and that's Liam. So Liam, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Liam, you're joining us all the way from overseas. I know it's getting a bit late in the day for you. Maybe you can tell us about, I believe you're with FLETCHERWILSON. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what FLETCHERWILSON is and the kind of projects that you do.
Yeah, so FLETCHERWILSON is a video production company, but one arm of that is the live event space. And that basically can mean from totally offline events to virtual events to purely live streams. Like, we cover it all. And we use Pearls mainly for all of our streaming capabilities, whether that be as a backup encoder, running alongside some other software switching programs, or we run a show entirely on our Pearls.
Fantastic. So let me ask you this, what kind of project scale is, I'm sure you see all kinds of different live events, but, how are you able to execute live events when maybe there's not a huge budget or a big team?
Yeah, I mean, the Pearl's perfect for that because you've got basically one operator we tend to send out with 2 cameras. So we use Pearl Minis, so that's kind of the SDI in and one of our HDMIs kind of taken up. And then we have a content feed from in the room content. And basically we have one camera operator on one camera, the other camera being a wide. And then we have an operator that will call kind of the shots as well as run the stream that records everything from one device, and it just works. You know, you go out on an event and things change constantly, and the Pearl Mini adapts to whatever you need, really. And yeah, it's just really simple to use.
Well, great. Thanks for that perspective. I want to ask you more about some of the projects that you're involved with, but let's get back to the panel. I do see we've got questions coming in, so maybe we'll just kind of hang out with chat here. So I do see someone from Global Trader TV, and he says, hey, I am from finance background and looking for online production solution. I have one question. Can we put a live feed of like a stock market ticker in the footer, like kind of like a business channel? So maybe that's Stephen, maybe that's a good question for you. What kind of options do we have for doing some like finance based content?
Yeah, there absolutely. In the Uno library, there's a number of different tickers where you can do, I think we have some RSS tickers in there, some manual tickers. The RSS one is fed by an RSS feed. Specifically with finance, I don't believe we have one right now. Maybe the crypto ticker is connected to data. We don't have just standard stocks, but again, there's an example of feedback. That's the kind of feedback we need in that. At the bottom of the page, there's send feedback. Send a request into the team and we'll take a look at that. If you wanted a more sophisticated implementation, maybe you really needed a custom bespoke finance, reach out to us in the feedback channel. And I can tell you from a technical standpoint, absolutely. And I'm personally very interested in data-driven Unos, whether it's the crypto ticker or the RSS feed. So the long-winded answer to your question is absolutely, and send us feedback with a request of specifically what you're looking for, and we will put it in the list. One more comment I wanted to make just on that point is make sure any Uno, you can come into the site. You don't have to sign up out of the gate. You can try things for 7 days. There's like a 7-day timeout. So if you try an Uno, you're going to get an instance of that Uno automatically. We do that in the back end, and it will expire in 7 days. To avoid that, simply sign up, and then you can drop the Unos into your own library, and you'll get notifications of when we do updates and those types of things. So I did want to mention that.
Great. And I'm seeing here just on the Uno site, there is an entire category for finance that has a bunch of stock elements that you can use, but you'll see the big button here at the bottom, I think is what Stephen was guiding us to, is this send feedback button. So, and then you can make requests right here. So that's a good way to get started and maybe play around a little bit and see if that works for you. So hopefully that helps answer your question, Global Trader TV. I do see a question from Clive here. Clive is asking about this production. Are all the presenters connected with SRT using Epiphan products for interactivity? So great question. So what we're doing today is we're actually running this production using one of our Epiphan cloud tools, which is Epiphan Connect. And what that allows us to do is use the Epiphan Connect tool to pair in a Zoom call. And we can actually extract each of our presenters right out of Zoom and bring them into our production. So, you know, how on the back end, what each of us see right now on our screens is just a normal Zoom call. We have a normal Zoom call happening where we talk as usual, and then Epiphan extracts those sources and brings them into this production. So hopefully that answers your question, Clive. And if you want to learn more about that, just hop on to Epiphan's site and you can look up Epiphan Connect. And we've also got some videos right here on YouTube you can search for. So just look for Epiphan Connect and that'll answer to you exactly how we're bringing in all of our sources today. I do see, do you have Enrique from Mexico? Hey, Enrique, he has a question. Do you have a 1 or 2 crew solution, totally portable, no wires and capable of moving, battery powered? That's an interesting question. We have done some experiments. There's a video on our YouTube channel actually called The Great Live Streaming Adventure or something like that, but where, you know, we're able to run devices like a Pearl Mini or a Pearl Nano right off a battery. I know mobile live streaming is something that is occasional need, and you know sometimes you need bonded internet and things like that. But I'd be curious, George and Liam, you know, is this something you guys run into? How often how often are you producing content from locations which may be difficult to stream from? Like, for example, I'm thinking of something like, a hotel conference room where maybe you have limited internet connection. What kind of scenarios do you encounter and how do you deal with that?
That's kind of the only scenario where we run into it, is a conference room where the internet is bad. And then if that tends to happen, we'll have dedicated bonded internet live view, basically feeding us internet and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. That's kind of the only scenario where we'd need a remote kind of production solution like that.
So definitely, I tend to use all PEP links now as a backup, regardless of what environment I'm going into. Even if I have a hard line, I'm using a PEP link as backup. And also SRT, if you know you're going to be in an environment where the bandwidth is really not that great, we're just going off the bat now, we're just going SRT just to make things a little bit simple. So, SRT is not bandwidth intensive required. So we just go with it off the back now and just put everything into the cloud and then relay everything to the other destination.
So just to kind of break this down, we've mentioned SRT, and I see in chat people are asking questions about SRT. I can explain it a little bit, and maybe George, you can help me out, but SRT stands for Secure Reliable Transport. And this is a open source streaming protocol that is gaining in popularity very rapidly. In fact, there's an SRT alliance of over 400 organizations that are collaborating to make SRT an open standard that makes it really easy to send low latency video from one destination to another over public internet. So you can send video up to a cloud using SRT. You can send it with Epiphan devices from one device to another. And the advantage is that you have extremely low latency, high quality video from anywhere in the world to another destination. And we're talking about like less than a second of latency with some recovery bandwidth as well. So makes it possible to do the things that used to require maybe a satellite truck or a very expensive setup. SRT enables to have those capabilities without needing very expensive equipment. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know if Liam, do you use SRT at all? Is that within your offering at all at Fletcher Wilson?
We don't tend to use it too much. We tend to still stick to RCMP. But the only time we have used it is with Epiphan Connect, and it has been really easy to use and really easy to set up within the Pearl admin login.
So just to add to that, a lot of times while we're using SRT, and we've covered this before, Dan, is if we're at hotel venues where we have 20 pearls going out to the web, we want to stick with SRT just to make sure that, again, low latency, getting everything out to the cloud and then relaying it out. There's no secret why YouTube is also added SRT to their back end, because that's part of where the future is in live streaming.
Thanks for that explanation, guys. And hopefully that helps answer your question. I'm just looking at chat here again. Showreel is asking, where can we find the Epiphan configuration presets for download? Answer to that is they're going to be available. Well, they are available now on the Epiphan website. Maybe our moderators can put a link in chat, but we're also going to follow up after this event. You'll get an email where we'll link you directly to them and you can download them and start playing with them right away. So there's a configuration preset for Pearl 2. There's also a configuration preset for Pearl Mini. And what you get in those presets is things like the custom layout templates. So I think with the Pearl 2 preset, we've got something like 14 layout presets created for you. With Pearl Mini, we've got something like a dozen layout presets. And we've also set up, the channels, and we've set you up so that you can add your Uno graphics very quickly and easily. We've already created the input for you. And you can also do things like, a motion on Pearl 2, you can do like a motion background using media playback. So you'll see once you load the preset on your device, it should be pretty intuitive of what we've included. And there's some documentation as well that will say exactly what's included in those presets. So what I would encourage is to download the preset, try using it on your Pearl, and feel free to modify the preset as you see fit and create your own preset using some of the elements that we've included. With the layout templates, what you can do is actually make a copy of a layout. So if you want to just make a copy and then modify it, maybe you want to, instead of having someone on the right, you want to move it to the left. Very easy to do that, but we've given you the tools to get started quickly and easily and do some experimentation and have some fun there. I do see a question coming in now from Wagner. Hi, Wagner. What gear do you have that could fit in a live wedding streaming, specifically in terms of a cost benefit? On the other hand, any gear that could be useful in a wedding filming with no streaming? That's a good question. So what I would suggest is if you're doing a wedding, and I've done actually lots of wedding videos over the years, and live streaming a wedding is something that you want to make sure that you get right. You only have one chance when you're doing a live event like a wedding, and believe me, the bride will not be happy if you mess things up. So what I would recommend is, I think you could probably have two options. Option number one might be something like this. This is, and Nick alluded to this earlier, this is a Pearl Nano. And what this will do is it allows you to plug one or two cameras into this device and then stream and record. So, you can be rest assured that with a dedicated piece of hardware like this, that you're going to have success. You're not relying on something like a laptop that, the battery could die, or, the Wi-Fi goes out, or, even when you're using something like OBS, which is free software that people will often use to create live streams. That's great if you're like streaming to Twitch or something and it's not mission critical. But when you have an event where you need that reliability, a dedicated piece of hardware like a Pearl Nano, or even step up to a Pearl Mini if maybe you want to do a multi-camera of a wedding, you could do that. So great solution for a wedding stream, for having that reliability that you're going to require, and you can do your recording and streaming right off of that device. So hopefully that answers your question. Have you guys ever, George and Liam, have you guys ever done weddings? Just curious, maybe any interesting events that you've produced where, there's only one chance to get it right?
Go ahead, Lehman.
Not weddings specifically. It's not kind of our remit at Fletcher Wilson, but yeah, every event, because we tend to work with big companies for their quarterly meetings or whatever, we have one chance to get it right. And yeah, we have a team of techs, not just us, but running the audio, the lights and everything. So yeah, we tend to only have one chance to get it right, and we don't tend to get redos. So yeah, it's not the same as a wedding, but rest assured, the people who are running that event do treat it as their wedding day. And if you get it wrong, they do let you know.
Liam is absolutely right. Every single live event we do, if it's live, you have to get it right out of the gates. I mean, whether it's the audio has to be open, because especially when you deal high with, Fortune 500 CEOs or just high-end clients, you want to make sure the mics are open. You want to make sure that everything is live when it's supposed to be live. So, you have to get it right. So if it's live, it has to be right out of the gate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate those insights. I do have a question here that I want to get to, and that's Steve was asking. Steve was saying, okay, what do you do if your attendees don't have a Pearl device? So like, for example, how we're doing this production today. So you don't necessarily need a Pearl device to participate in a Pearl production. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get your video source into a Pearl device. You can use HDMI, but you can also use other inputs that are like streaming protocols. So for example, we've mentioned SRT is one way. So if you have any device that's capable of sending an SRT stream, So there's like I said, over 400 companies that are using SRT as a streaming protocol. You can use free software like OBS to send an SRT stream. But we also make it easy for you to bring participants into a production using our Epiphan Connect tool. And Epiphan Connect allows you to bring in participants over Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And like I mentioned, that's how we're doing the production here today, is everyone's joining this production today just on a ordinary Zoom call, same as we ever would. So hopefully that answers your question, Steve. I want to come back to Stephen. Stephen, what is the outlook with Uno? I know your user base is growing. What should we watch for, and what's coming up in the near future as far as features and functions with Uno?
Well, the list is long. The feedback list has been great, phenomenal. I would say on the short list is image upload. Right now, Uno's, when you have an Uno that is using an image, you need to put a web link, a URL to a web link, so you can get that on a web page, right click on an image and grab the image link, or put it on your own web server. But what's coming next is image upload. So assuming you've signed up for your Uno account, you will then be able to upload images to your account and then easily access them. That will be a big feature upgrade. And then just more features, and they come pretty regularly. We're constantly adjusting the library, adding to the library, adding new features within Uno's, and letting our user base know via a newsletter. We try not to be too overwhelming with the newsletter. We send one out pretty much once a month to let users know what new features are there, what to expect, what new things are coming out in Uno. But yeah, the user base has been just steadily growing. People are really responding to it, and that's what drives it. That's what drives our decision-making process, is what makes a better stream, and that's what we hope to do with overlays.uno.
Well, speaking of that, I do see a question request maybe coming in from Fareed, and Fareed was asking, can you load in static content for like simple logos or graphics or banners?
If you're talking about images, yes. Currently, right now, if you find a Uno in the library that you like, and it has an image URL, that image URL is going to need to be on a web server. And like I said, we currently don't support uploading your own images to your Uno account, but that's coming pretty soon. I can't give you an exact date, but it's soon. It's next on our hit list. But any image link on the web will work. So for example, if you have a logo, a sport logo, for example, anywhere that you find on the web, right click it, open it up in a new tab, and copy the URL link, and just drop it right into the URL link of that specific Uno. So absolutely. There is one in there that I will mention. There's an Uno in there that we're experimenting with and gotten very good success, which is it connects to a Google Sheet. It's a lower third. There's just one now. We're kind of testing the waters, but it uses our Google plugin, or add-on, I should say, that you can download from Google, and you can connect. So if you have, for example, a graduation with a lot of lower thirds, you're probably going to want to take a look at that Uno, which connects to a Google Sheet. And there's how-tos, how to do that on the website itself. There's a how-to section, and feedback. Again, I always go back to feedback. If it's not what you're looking for, let us know, and we will put it on the list and hopefully get to it.
Awesome. I want to come back to George, because George, did you have some thoughts to add there?
It's more of a question for Stephen. So we kind of talked before the show a little bit about, for me, I'm a little bit companion and stream deck driven in every single one of my shows. As part of what we're doing, it's part of the ecosystem in the production industry right now. And with things like Uno, and for Epiphan also, it's all about automation. How is Stream Deck and Companion playing a role in how we're going to be able to get graphics on and off a screen? Because for me, as a video engineer, I'm used to using a switcher to get things on and off. We want to be able to carry over those things into the cloud workflows and the Epiphan software and hardware workflow. Also, I wanted to ask you, a lot of times we're dealing with clients that have color schemes, and they have to be able to use certain colors and elements. Our clients gonna be able to tap directly into your with your folks to build certain types of presets, or we can be able to do those ourselves?
I will start with thanks for teeing that up because I'm glad you mentioned that. So I didn't forget to mention that is the Stream Deck. We have a Stream Deck plugin on the main page down at the bottom. There's a link to the Stream Deck plugin. It's been very well received. And then you can use Uno with Companion. It works great. And I think Companion is more of a it reaches a more of the professional audience, I think, in my experience. So it definitely works with Companion. In terms of right now, Uno is really designed for, I'll call it more on the play out side of things. It's not really a composer where you would go and craft your own custom graphics from a timeline basis. So we, as I mentioned briefly earlier in the show, Uno was created with our sort of flagship product, I'll call it, or maybe not flagship, but our professional enterprise product called Singular. That's a different offering. And it's in Singular where you can actually author your own Unos and much more things. But it is a much more in-depth professional level tool for really crafting your own graphics. And that's from singular.live. So hopefully with Uno, for most use cases, and we've seen great response, is via that feedback channel, we can hit the mark on the graphics you need. If it's something you find and you don't quite have what you need, a lot of our customers might still paint up something that they like and just use one of our graphics that just displays an image. We have a lot of customers that do that, or that last minute graphic that you have not accounted for in any system and you just want to display an image. So some of our stream packs have images. There's some just simple Unos that just display like a full screen image, which is pretty handy to do from an Uno app. But very good question.
Maybe George, you could just switch to my share screen for a second, because I can demonstrate the Stream Deck just very quickly. So I've already paired this Epiphan Stream Pack to my Uno, or sorry, to my Stream Deck rather. And now when I press a button on my Stream Deck, I can move the logo on and off the screen. I can basically cue all of these graphics just by pressing these buttons on my Stream Deck. So, this was incredibly easy to do and very powerful, because really to have those graphics cues at your fingertips makes it that much easy for a single operator to be able to run a production with just a Stream Deck and a Pearl switcher. So yeah, hopefully that inspires you to try using a Stream Deck with Uno. I do see a few more questions coming in here. Let me see what we have. Clive was asking about what polling interactivity does Uno support, or third-party plugins. And Stephen, this question is probably back to you again. And maybe this is something where you'd want to experiment with Singular, which is, sort of your parent product to do polling or things like that.
Yeah, as I mentioned in my answer to my previous question, I mentioned Singular.live, which is the platform by which we created Uno itself. And we've done a number of projects for professional customers using polling, simple polls, questions, answers. It obviously gets a little bit more involved. I don't think we currently don't have something that's like as simple as an Uno for a poll, but it is coming and it is on our hit list. So I would say that we have examples. There might even be on some of our YouTube channel for Singular.live. You might see some examples of where we've done polling. But yeah, that's a request. Then some more things. It opens up a much bigger can of worms in terms of all kinds of integrations with I'll call it the data feeds, if you will. So, but yes, we've done a number of projects with pollings, question and answers, that type of thing.
Thanks for that. One other question coming from Charles: can we convert PowerPoint into Uno? It's an interesting question. Is that something you've heard before? Request?
Yeah. So not specifically. There's not like an import button for, say, a PowerPoint to convert it into an Uno. But it is a good question. I'll go back to the feedback. If you can describe what it is you would want to do from PowerPoint, or even share just a simple example, even the file itself, it doesn't have to be your exact presentation, but something sort of pared down. We do get that question, everything from, can I import my After Effects file, or can I import my Photoshop layered file and turn it into an Uno? We get all kinds of requests such as that, and some of them are obviously way more complicated than meets the eye, but there is no real sort of direct import from other apps. It's more of Uno it tries to be more on the play out side, more get up and running as quickly as possible, and user feature driven. I guess I'll leave it at that, but it's a very good question as well.
If we flip to the screen share, maybe I've got an alternative solution for you, Charles, and that is to just use a Pearl. So you see here in Pearl, we do have some in the config presets, we have some sort of screen share type layouts. So you could bring your PowerPoint in over HDMI, or maybe you want to bring your PowerPoint in as individual slides using graphics. So Pearl does support JPEG and PNG images. So, you could make, several layouts for the different slides in your presentation and be able to just switch through your layouts. So again, going back to the steps, you would just load your config preset and then create several layouts for each of the slides in your presentation and be able to very easily switch through your production or your PowerPoint that way. So that might be an option for you as well. Let's see here. I do see a question from Jesse Miller. Jesse was wondering, is there a plan to support video with alpha channel in either Uno or Pearl? We do support alpha channel over NDI on Pearl devices. If you want to learn more about that, we could probably have a follow-up conversation with you. I'm curious, I know a lot of graphics traditionally has been brought into production systems using alpha channel, which is basically a transparency layer. So, you might be able to follow up with Stephen as well. I know Singular Live has some functionality there to bring in alpha channel, but definitely Pearl 2 does support alpha channel using NDI as your input. Fareed, another question: what is the cost for the service? Stephen, what does Uno cost?
It's my favorite question because it's simple. It's free. You go in, you sign up, and you start using it. We have not put in a pay tier. We've discussed it internally. We really launched it as a group of professional broadcast graphics people. That's our background. And we really wanted to see if there was a demand, and there is, and we've seen it, and we're really encouraged by it, and it's what drives us. Currently it's free. You go in and try any template. Again, I encourage you to set up an account and download those Unos, play on it, bang on our door for new features, but it is a free offering. Down the road, will there be a pay? There might be a pay pro tier. We're discussing that internally, what makes sense. I think philosophically, we never want to keep people from trying every feature that we can come up with or that users drive and that we implement, so that you can try every feature and we'll decide what the pay point, but it'll probably be some sort of a professional tier that gives you some additional options, whether it's amount storage, for example. If you're uploading images, maybe it's a storage, a greater limit of storing images and that kind of thing, or API. Every Uno has an API, so there are some Unos that get driven by APIs, like our weather API. I'm sorry, weather API. We have a weather Uno where you can have a simple graphic that just shows you the weather and cycles through current conditions at a location. That's been a very popular Uno, and that uses data. So we might ask users, hey, those services cost us a fee. Maybe we pass some of that cost on to a user at some point. But right now, free, have at it. And it's been that way since we started. So yeah.
I love that. It means it's easy to try this. And that's what I would encourage everyone to do is, if you already own a Pearl, definitely go follow the links. I think we put some in chat, and we'll follow up with an email, but go download the preset and just try using it on your Pearl. And if you haven't played with Pearl yet, check out epiphan.com and learn more about what you can do with Pearl. These are very powerful devices, but the key is that they can be set up to be very easy to level up your video. And hopefully we've shown you some examples of how to do that today. So I want to thank our panel for joining. Steve, Liam, George, it's been great to have you guys, and I can't wait to chat with you more afterwards, and hopefully we'll bring you on to our future events as well. And I want to thank everyone who's participated in chat and in the comments and questions. We've had a great audience on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So just thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun, and stay tuned for more events in the future. And we look forward to seeing you again then. All right. Take care.